Well, I'm out here setting up the cam on my second engine. Seems like the gremlins have struck again because I put all the stuff away last spring, and now idler gear, one of the cam idler gears comes up missing. So I have a feeling the gremlin took off with it, but you can see. Come on, focus on it. Yeah. So I'm missing the one. The plans do say that you can run with one, but I figured this is a good opportunity for me to try making a gear hob and cutting another gear. I've never cut a gear with a gear hob before. I've always used a fly cutter or basically a single point and ground up one tooth, a cutter that represented one tooth, and I cut my gears that way. But so this will be a new experience. I just want to try it, and see if it works any better. I've got a lot of mosquitoes out here. See if it works any better than because it definitely looks like it might be a lot easier. So I am going to. The first thing I'm going to do is set up some material between centers on the lathe and turn me up a piece of A2 stock, and then grind up a 20 degree included carbide cutter and cut the little splines for the gear hob, and then we'll cut the flutes and have it. I've got a friend that I'll try to get him to heat treat it for me. A2 heat treat's nice. I mean, you wrap it up and it's heat treated in a controlled atmosphere basically, and you don't get decarburization. It just comes out a lot nicer than otherwise. I could just make it with some O1 or O2 and flame harden it, but you always got, if you're not careful, you get a lot of decarb. And plus you won't get it as hard. And A2 you can get anywhere from 60 to 65 Rockwell, so which really doesn't have to be that anyway because it's only going to be cut in brass. But anyway, I am going to go and set up the lathe for turning up a piece of stock, and we're going to give her a try. This will be like a new experience for me because I've never cut with a gear hob before. I've read up a little bit on it. I downloaded a spreadsheet by, I can't remember his name now. Don. Anyway, there's a spreadsheet out there that does all your calculations for you. You don't have to take your pitch diameter times pi or whatever. I can't even remember the formula, but I've got it written down, but I don't remember it off the top of my head. And but anyway, it does all the calculations for you, so I'm going to be using that. I'm going to go grind up a cutter right now and then get the lathe set up, and I'll get back and we'll continue from there. I got cutter ground up and I got a piece in between centers. I turned it down to right on 750 diameter, and I ground the cutter up so that its included angle there is 20 degrees, if you can. So now I'll get that set up in my tool holder here, and we'll see what we can do. See if we can actually make a gear hob. Like I say, I've always just used the single point method of grinding up a tool. I've used my machinist handbook to get the profile of the gear tooth, and amazingly that their pictures inside the machinist handbook are pretty much right on, so you can actually use those for templates. Okay, so now we want to get this set up in here. and I want the angle is ground 20 degrees off of this edge. So if I line this edge up straight or perpendicular to the work, it should be good to go. Okay, so I'll just bring it over here. Well, actually, I can go off of there. Over here. We'll go over here. We'll go off of the spindle itself. Turn that in. Just get it lined up. Hold it over there with my finger. Tighten it up. This will be actually the first little project of the year for me. Starting out the year of I only work on it during the winter, so, and it's really not winter yet. it's hopefully that's a long ways away yet, but it is really crappy outside. It's cold, damp, and the wind is blowing. All right, so according to the calculations here, 48 diametrical pitch, the spline should be 65.5 thou from each other, and this cutter comes to a sharp point, so once I touch, I go in, according to the calculations, 71 thousandths. I'm not going to use the compound, I'm only going to use the cross feed. So in the calculations, I set it for 0, so it gives me the exact distance I want to go in. So what I want to do is I want to either dicom that or put a pen on it or something to give it some color so I can see it when it touches. I want to see when it. So we'll just put a little dicom on it. Wait for it to dry a little bit. All right, so we'll crank this in until it just touches, until it just makes a line. Right there. It's just taking the dicom off. So now I'll set this to 0. And we want to go in 71 thousandths. So I am going to crank it in 71 thou, and then do I want to leave? Most of the hobs that I've seen leave a spud out on the end, but I really don't think that's necessary. I think that I can get by with just cutting the first tooth, you know, the one side of the first tooth, and then go from there. So I think that's what I'm going to do. So I will go in 71 thousandths. So just got to make sure that 40, 60, 70, 1. All right, and we'll go over until the tip of the tool, until the tip of the tool is aligned to the end of the shaft, and then I'll zero my carriage out. got a little bit of a flat started now. So now I'll zero my carriage out. And then back out to 71 thou. Crank over 65 and 65. Yep, 65 and a half. So 50, 65 and a half. And then crank in my 71 thou again. There's 0, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, no oil. 60, 71. Back out. Okay, I'm going to zero my cross or my carriage again. So 65 and a half. 50, 60, 5 and a half. Go in my 71 again. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, the oil. 71. Crank back out. Zero my carriage again. 65 and a half. 71. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, the oil. 71. Okay, so that is 3 feet. Oh, you know what? That 71 is actually 142, because that is all of the full depth. So that means I need to go twice as deep as what I'm going. And in order to do that, I'm going to slow this RPM down. It's a little fast, it's chattering at the bottom of that cut. And we are running at 1,000 RPM. I am going to cut it back to 600 RPM. And we're going to have to go 142, not 71. I noticed that by looking at the feet here, they don't look right. They're too big a flat on it. So I have to go 142. So I can go back into the 71. Keep on going. Uh-oh. That's not good. Need to tighten up my lathe dog. She was slipping. Didn't have it real tight, I guess. Should come up with a better lathe dog than that, but hope I didn't ruin it already. $100. Got 42 to go. Yeah, this is a little touchy here. 120, 130. I keep dabbing oil on her. 140. 142. Okay, so now I can go back. I'll have to go back outward now. I'll re-zero my carriage here and go to 50, 65 and a half. Okay, we'll go back in and try her again. My 72, I'm going to start the cut. 80, 90, 100, 10, 20, 30, 40, 2. That looks a little bit better. All right, well, I'm going to go ahead and keep on doing this. I'm going to cut 1, 2, probably 3 more cuts exactly the same as I just did. So I'll come back to it when I get those 3 cuts done. Okay, I got all the grooves cut. There's a shot of them, and I happen to have a plastic 48 pitch gear that I took out of a printer. I save all the gears for and you can see, looks good to me. So, you know what I think I'm going to do is turn it around and cut another one on the other end so that I have one on both ends, and I'm going to relieve it back about a ½ inch from here, and then I'll do the same on the other end, and then I'll have 2 cutters, basically 2 hobs. You know what I could do is I could put a different one on the other end, you know, a different diametrical pitch. Nah, I think I'll just do 2 48s. And then when I get this heat treated, I'm going to cut the flutes in it first before I heat treat it. I'm going to cut the flutes in it, and then when I get it heat treated, then I'm going to sharpen it. Either do it hand by hand, or I may set up my air bearing end mill sharpening system and sharpen it that way. We'll see. Cross the bridge when I get there. I got both ends done on it, so you can see. So now what I'm going to do is go over the lathe, put it in a 5C collet, and cut the flutes on it. So I'm going to head to the mill here. Okay. So what I'm going to do is get a 5C collet and put in my collet, 3/4 inch collet, and blocks. And I could either make 4 flute. Well, I'm going to go with this. I'm going to get more flutes that way. We'll see how it looks. So stick that in there. Put that in there. Okay. Ugh. Okay, there we go. Darn mosquitoes. Got mosquitoes flying around in here. Had the garage door open last night. And bad mistake. Lights on and door open, and I just had every mosquito in the neighborhood come in. Tighten that up. Okay. And we set it in there. Let's set it like that. I'm going to set a stop so that I get them all about the same. I'll take it. Set that stop in there. I need to Allen wrench that size. I've been out here all summer long, so I gotta remember where I laid stuff. I tried to put everything away, but you know how that goes. It doesn't get put away, and then you go, well, what did I do with that? A little Allen wrench for this. All right, well, I gotta round up a little Allen wrench for this, and when I come back, I'll have the stop. Okay, I got the stop tightened up and put in a 3/8 carbide end mill here. Freshly resharpened. Okay. Crank this up. Alright. And I'm going to set crank it to 0 here on my dial. And then we know that the diameter is 3/4. So I got a piece of paper here. And I'm going to take and right there. So we know that the diameter is 3/4. So to get that on center line, you need to go up 375. 375. That should put that cutter right on center line. That looks pretty good. Okay, here we go. I want to cut the flutes. Oh, you're probably looking at my shoulder, aren't you? But I want to cut the flutes deep enough to where I can use my end mill sharpening, so I can use the finger to guide. Let's see what that looks like right there. Okay. Let's see what that looks like right there. Yeah, I should be able to get a finger in there to sharpen them. Sharpen the flutes. Ah. That's right. I was just thinking I made a left-handed cutter, but no, I did it right. You gotta kind of be careful. If I'd have been on the front side, then yeah, I'd have been making a left-handed cutter. So we're going to go around to that. I don't know if this is going to work. We'll see here. That's something that looks straight here. What's going on? Oh yeah, it'll be all right. I was thinking I went in a little too far, but that's about where I wanted it. And rotate to the next plant. Darn mosquito. Can't wait for the first frost to get rid of those damn things. Hopefully, I'll get this heat treated sometime this week. It depends on if they're doing any heat treat in the shop. If they are, then I asked a buddy of mine to wrap it up and throw it in with the stuff. So they don't make a. I mean, I don't ask them to make a special heat treat just for that, because I don't think they'd like that too much, but if they're already heat treating it, it's no big deal. I'm debating on whether to grind a secondary relief on it right away before I heat treat. And then that way I just need to grind a primary relief to sharpen it, and it'll be ready to go. So far, so good. One more to go. Something just keeps teetering here. I must have a chip under it again. Yeah, gotta have a chip under it. Bunch of chips underneath. Can't have that. That's better. Okay. Hey, that looks pretty good. What do you think? I think that'll work. You know, really cutting in brass, it may even work without even putting in secondary and primary reliefs on it. I'm gonna have to sit down and deburr it all, but that's okay. To me, that's looking pretty good. I'm gonna call that good, and I think I will grind it after heat treat. So basically, I'm going to cut the other end, clean this up, and the next time I get back with you, hopefully it'll be heat treated and we'll be sharpening it. Now, either I'm going to hand sharpen it, or I'm going to set it up and set the finger on the flute here, and then come in on the other side with the grinding wheel and set it for a secondary relief, and then grind all the flutes, And then I'm going to take and set it for primary and just grind it until it just cleans up the very ends, and then she should be ready to go. And then we will see if I can actually. I'm also going to, when I make this gear, there's been a lot of talk on one of the boards about indexing heads versus rotary tables. Well, I'm going to make this gear without using an index head or a rotary table, and I'm going to show you how to do it. All I'm going to do is I'm going to make up once I get the gear blanks made, I'm going to make a mandrel to mount them on, and then I will show you how to index it accurately for a 20-tooth gear, just by using a mandrel and a block. I'm going to drill a hole in a block, and anyway, I'm going to attempt to do it manually without any aid of a rotary table or an indexing head, and we'll see how it goes. I'm just playing right now. I could have got probably by without making this gear, but I'm going to go ahead and make it anyway, and maybe I'm going to make 2 or 3 extras just to play around. Like I say, I've never used a Hob. I've always used a single point, and we're going to see how it goes. And who knows, I may be changing the way I make my gears from now on. We'll see. Okay, I finished up with the Gear Hob. Finished cutting it here. I'll lay it on the bench, and I'm gonna just try to zoom in here and see if you can. Lines up nicely there. Flip it around and get it to stop rolling. Here. Put a gear behind it. Anyway, I think it'll work. So we're going to get it heat treated and sharpen, and we'll try to see if I can cut some gears with it. It'll be a new one for me, because like I say, I single point. I have every gear I have ever made, I single pointed, and I've made some really big gears too. I mean, not just little model gears. I made full, gears for some big hit and miss engines for repairing them. But so, and like I say, I've always ground to tooth shape, and then just went ahead and took a bunch of cuts and got my gears made that way. So this is going to be a new adventure. So anyway, thanks for watching, and tune in again, and we'll see if we can make a gear the next time. It'll be a hit and miss. No, it'll be a new adventure for me. I know I've read a lot about how to do it, and making this cutter didn't actually, if I would have went ahead and just put it between, or in a feisty collet instead, I wouldn't have got all that chat, or you putting it between centers like that. Because the second side that I cut, I went ahead and pulled away the center, put it in a feisty collet, made sure it was running true, and cut that second side with no chatter whatsoever. So next time I make one, it's not going to be between centers. It'll be in a feisty collet. So anyway, till next time, catch you later.